Now, a 35-year-old Nigerian, Rebecca ODONSI, has been sentenced to 6 years in prison for lashing her daughter with a kitchen knife and a pair of scissors. The 12-year-old, according to her mother, has been stealing from her to give to her boyfriend. Rebecca ODONSI, who was convicted on her own plea, told Joy News that she was driven by rage after her daughter ignored her numerous warnings. She's been speaking with my colleague, Patricia Roxanne Hammond.
Rebecca's trial has been swift. She was arrested last Friday. Her trial opened on Monday and was convicted same day after she pleaded guilty. Though a tearful Rebecca admission inflicted the wounds on her daughter, she explained she had come to her wits' end after several efforts to talk her out of it.
The trouble my daughter had been causing me, she have always been stealing anything, unless she didn't set her eyes on the thing. If it's money, any amount it is, she will take all. She will not leave anyone for me. Reaching last month, it was 2 phones she stole from the house. Somebody plugged phone in my room. She stole it and gave it to a certain boy. They call him Charles. My own phone, I was also sleeping. She take my own phone to the same Charles. I took her to SOSU police station to report the case. They said that it's the child. They cannot discipline her. They cannot do what I asked them because I asked them to detain her and investigate who had been sending her to steal. They said they cannot do that. I returned her home. So I now decided to return them back to Nigeria. I called the father for him to send me money so that I would send them back home. He told me ending of the month, the night we sleep again. 119, the 50 pesos that left in my purse, she come in and take all without leaving even 10 pesos. And that was the last money that left with me that I was having. So when I wake up and realize that she had taken the money and she left the door open and lie down again, pretend as if nothing happened. That money she took that night was the last money. When I think, what are we going to eat tomorrow? I was so frustrated because I don't know who to go to. I don't know who to run to. The father promised to send money. He have not sent it. That was the only money that left with me, even in the bank. I used the scissors to cane her hand. I used the knife to cane her hand. I didn't use it to cut her. I was caning her with the thing because if she do something, you don't do anything. The next day, she will do the bigger one. She will do the one. She don't want to change. She started this attitude from Nigeria before we left the country to Ghana here.
The victim, together with her 2 siblings, have been taken away from Rebecca to Nigeria, and she is also expected to be deported after she serves her sentence. She's, however, pleading to be pardoned so she could fend for her children.
I have to go and take care of my kids. If it's to send me back to my country, I will go back to my country, not to send me to jail because nobody will take care of the other 2.
Deputy Regional Coordinator at SOSU, DSP Cecilia Harriet Apia Ampofo tells Joy News fast-track sentencing is how the units will now be handling abuse cases.
Every child has the right to live and right to do everything. And you don't discipline your child to hurt him or her. It's against Ghana's law. The acts, the Constitution doesn't allow that. And DOFSU, our acts also doesn't allow it. If a child does something, you have to correct him or her in a rightful way. You don't correct him or her as in punishing him or her. Any woman who assaults her son or daughter or her child will be arrested and sent to court, and she will be prosecuted.
Rebecca is expected to start her sentence on Tuesday. For Joy News, Patricia Roxanne Hammond, Accra.
Right, now let's learn a bit more about this. Human rights lawyer FRANCIS-XAVIER SOSU joins us on the phone. Mr. SOSU, it's good to speak to you. This is an interesting story. Mixed reactions to the sentencing, 6 years, to this mother who complains of a situation that many parents might relate to, a naughty child. Her discipline goes too far, and now she's facing 6 years in jail in spite of the fact that she has 2 younger children. What are your thoughts on this?
Very good afternoon to your cherished viewers. Kojo, I think that the sentence is appropriate because I believe that child abuse is seriously on the increase in this country, and it is important that we send a very clear signal to our community and our society that the court would not, just sit aloof and see people abuse children and get away with them, even if you happen to be the mother of those children. The issue has to do with what then becomes of those children that she's going to leave. And I think that is where the victim support unit that is attached to the Ghana Police Service need to kick in swiftly to make adequate provisions together with the help of social welfare for these children, even as their mother says her sentence. And of course, she has a right to appeal, and maybe an appellate court may review the sentence and reduce it. But I think that at this stage, it is very necessary that the sentences be very deterrent enough to prevent future occurrences of such abuses of children.
Now, before things got this bad, the mother, in an attempt to, deal with her allegedly naughty child, sent her to the police. And of course, she's too young to be dealt with by the police, and they told the mother exactly that. But what should have been the proper recourse that this mother, frustrated with the difficulty in disciplining her child, should have taken?
Yeah, I think that, we can have several angles to this issue. You can attribute the naughtiness of these children to a kind of a broken home because there is no father around to properly discipline these children. And you can attribute it to several factors. But I think the underlying consideration here is welfare of children, and that must be paramount always. Children can do the worst, but if you have to punish that child, remember that that punishment must be in the interest of the child, and you must do it in such a way that you don't subject that child to a kind of torture or dehumanizing treatment or something that can be very injurious to that child. And the warning must be sent out there that, look, yes, you can discipline children all you want. However, if your discipline will go, overboard to amounting to an abuse of that child, you would end up answering to, the state. And I think this is exactly what is happening in this case.
Right. Now, you've talked about how child abuse cases are on the increase. Tell us a bit about it. What are some of the experiences that you've unfortunately encountered in your work?
Look, I think just too many abuses are going on all over the place. And Kojo, as I talk to you now, I am in Cape Coast. And why am I here? I came to do holding a watching brief for a 14-year-old girl who is pregnant. And why is she pregnant? Because you have elderly married men too, defiling that child. And the only reason why I found myself here today is because I've had a lot of distress calls suggesting that the people who were the perpetrators were trying to pay their way off or something, So we have to come in to make sure that no, these people are brought before, the law, and they are punished appropriately. And there are several of them all over the place. We have distress calls of children being abused all over the place. And so I think it's just getting so much that we need to do something about it, particularly when it has to do with domestic relations like this one. And I think that sad as it may be, and it may look, a mother going to serve like 6 years jail term for an attempt to discipline a child, but then again we are balancing this against the prevalence of this kind of thing going on all over the place. Teachers abusing children in the name of discipline, mothers abusing children in the name of discipline, and so on and so forth. So I think that it's high time we accept that this is the way we must go, though it may not sound very, very pleasant and palatable at this time. It's about the protection of the children.
Right. You've alluded to a case that we know a little bit more about. We're going to get straight into that next. But until then, thank you so much, Francis-XAVIER, SOSU, a human rights
the pleasure
lawyer.